development is a proactive approach that emphasizes in researching much reliable sources of energy. This includes building more technologies that are powered by renewable resources. Also, sustainable development must provide a way to meet our needs of energy without altering the ability of the future generations to benefit with these energy sources that are available today. One of the alternative energy that we can use is the solar energy, or the power that comes from the sun. Here's Marian to explain us the different types of solar technology.
There are three major types of solar technology. The most common type of solar technology that we can use today is the photovoltaic cells. Some known technology that use this kind of process are the solar-powered calculators, home solar panels, and the solar wings in the International Space Station. This technology works by the sun heating two types of silicon layer. One is the boron, which is positive, and the other one is phosphorus, which is negative. The heat from the sun makes the electrons to move from the negative to the positive terminal, which then converts solar energy into electrical energy. The second type of solar energy is called solar heating. The process behind this technology is basically using the thermal energy from the sun to heat water. This causes a steam, and the steam is then used to drive a turbine, which then produces electricity. This type of solar machines are commonly used in very hot countries. And lastly, the last type of solar technology is called concentrating solar power. This technology uses mirrors and lenses to focus light into a single point. This increases the chance of gathering more solar energy. Similar to the traditional thermal power plants, concentrating solar power plants also use steam to rotate our turbine.
Why are we not funding this?
That's actually a good question, and here's Arvin to answer that.
Although solar energy is less polluting than most sources of energy, there are still problems that exist. Solar energy is intermittent. This means access to sunlight is limited at certain times, and the weather can greatly affect it. For example, during nights, you won't have the ability to get solar energy. This affects the reliability of this energy source. Just imagine those countries that have less daylight hours during winter, like Canada and the US. Another complication for solar energy is that it's completely inefficient. Not all the light from the sun is absorbed by solar panels. Therefore, most solar panels have 40% efficiency at maximum, which means 60% of the light is not harnessed. And lastly, solar technologies are just simply expensive. Majority of people would still go for other sources of energy like fossil fuels and coals, which are much more cheaper.
Here are two different perspectives about solar energy. Mr. Smith, what are your thoughts about renewable sources of energy like solar?
Even though it could help advance our technology, I still completely disagree with implementing solar energy as a new resource.
Why is that?
It would set a massive unemployment for the people that work in the coal industry. In Alberta alone, about 2,200,000 workers directly or indirectly depend on oil and gas. Approximately 56% of the population of Alberta will be affected. It would also cost a huge amount of money to implement solar energy as a resource. And this includes making new transmission lines from locations that can effectively gather solar energy, and the storage is generally very expensive.
Here's another point of view from an environmentalist. Solar energy is the cleanest and the most abundant renewable energy that we have here on Earth. This facilitates sustainable development because it is more eco-friendly than the cheaper coal. There will be less air pollution because we're not burning any fuel. It will also be much quieter because there is less moving parts in solar technologies. Overall, we can't hide the fact that our fossil fuels will soon be depleted. So supporting long-term solutions like solar energy is a great start for us to prepare for the future. Connection to economic globalization and global climate change. Solar energy is connected to economic globalization because it can cause a massive unemployment to the people that work in the oil industry. Countries like the UAE, Saudi Arabia, and Canada will be heavily affected. Solar energy is also linked to our global climate change because studies say that there will be lesser carbon dioxide emissions from solar power plants, which will intently help us lower our rising average temperatures. Ultimately, we're still far away from breaking through the other concepts of solar energy, but it's definitely a possible solution that we can improve on to sustain the next generations of people here on Earth.